in Uruguay. Testimonies of his power of healing of minds, bodies and souls are too numerous to relate.
My name is Sean Mulrine. I come from Derry City. This is my wife Anne.
At this recent gathering in Ireland, Eileen Maguire talked about some of them.
We have instances that are not explainable, such as, for example, Sean and Anne Mulrine in Northern Ireland. Sean and Anne was expecting twins, and she had a very serious brain hemorrhage. And her husband prayed daily. Clinically, she was dead. She was placed on a life support machine. Her husband stayed at her side, continuously praying to Padre Pio. And on one occasion, the mitten was brought. Anne was blessed with the mitten of Padre Pio, and for the first time, after weeks on a life support machine, she moved her hands. And from there, perhaps Sean could continue to tell you the story.
So I went to see the surgeons, and they sat down, 3 of them, and they said to me, "Mr. Mulrine, the operation is over. It is, or it has been, our opinion, a miracle that we were able to keep your 2 unborn children inside your wife's womb while such a long and tedious operation went on."
She walked away from the hospital perfect and left her sticks behind her. And twins were born, and she is now mother of 4 children and perfect.
Right. Vera Calandra, here seen at the foot of Padre Pio's statue in San Giovanni Rotondo, is a leading worker in the cause of Padre Pio in America, and she tells us how she came to invoke Padre Pio's help.
How he came into my life certainly was a gift from Providence, and I can look back now at the last 20 years, and we do wonder in the household how we would have been able to survive the crosses that have come our way without the assistance and the intervention of Padre Pio, because our daughter was at the brink of death. So after asking Padre Pio's intercession and sending a telegram here to the monastery, I actually had an experience in my home where Padre Pio asked me to come and to bring my little girl to him, but that I must not delay, that I would have to come immediately. There was always someone there to lend a helping hand. We saw Padre Pio, we were blessed by him, we were able to kiss his gloved hand, and we returned to the United States. My daughter showed tremendous improvement from that point on, and Padre Pio died just a couple of weeks afterwards. She is now called the Amazing Young Lady. She celebrated her 21st birthday just a matter of weeks ago. My daughter is alive every day, so I must do something each day in the name of Padre Pio. And that is when we talked about starting our own prayer group in my parish, and from the prayer group, with the demand of the people to know more about Padre Pio, is when we started our center, the office that would distribute literature throughout the United States.
But Padre Pio works in many ways. There are physical healings and there are spiritual healings. And Bella will fill you in on a spiritual healing.
10 months ago we got word from Germany that my brother was very ill with cancer.
And she was even more worried to hear that he had given up the practice of his religion. She sent him leaflets with information on Padre Pio, together with scented rosary beads from San Giovanni.
We went to visit him. My brother, I tried to talk to him in February about Padre Pio, and he got actually very angry with me. He told me I was a fanatic, and he said, if you want me to know anything about Padre Pio, tell him to give me direct contact. And I said, well, John, someday, if that's what you want, the Padre will do that for you. And I do believe that the Padre was with him when he died. I believe that. What we are saying, it was through the intercession of Padre Pio that my brother received the last rites of the church before he died.
Joe Greco also had great faith in the spiritual power of Padre Pio.
What are we going to do, Father, when you pass away? You're getting on a bit, you know. And He said, I shall do more in heaven, he said, than ever I shall be able to do on earth, he said. And not one of I shall never enter heaven, he said, or rest until all of my spiritual children are in heaven. That's right. And that is exactly as it happened to me.
It helps to understand Padre Pio's willingness to suffer as Christ himself had suffered, to remember that as a young man he was sent a vision of a majestic figure of rare beauty, radiant as the sun, in the midst of two huge armies, the forces of good and evil. Throughout his life he continually suffered physical encounters with the devil, after which he was left exhausted and bleeding. Sometimes at night sounds of violent struggle were heard coming from his cell. He even showed signs of having been physically assaulted, and on one occasion was so badly injured he had to spend several days in bed.
One day he was in the choir loft praying, and when he saw so many devils, and they start to shout at him to make noisy, and Padre Pio said to them, I know your job, I don't care about you. So when they heard that, they throw him on the floor and they start to kick him, slap him, punch him. And Padre Pio felt that they will kill him. So he called, he said, all the saints in heaven to help me, but no one came to help me. Then I called my guardian angel, and my guardian angel didn't come immediately. He delayed. When he arrived, instead of chasing the devils away from me, he started to fly around me, singing beautiful hymns. Now, dear friends, you think about Padre Pio on the floor, beaten to death by the devils, and the guardian angel flying around him. He said, finally, when I got up, I gave him a good scold. And to punish him, I didn't look in his face. But then my guardian angel, like a little boy who had done something wrong, he followed me, he asked me forgiveness, and he promised me that he would never do that again.
During his ecstasies, he spoke with Our Lady, with Jesus, and his own guardian angel in short, broken sentences. It was said, charmingly, that he sounded as though he was chatting in a family group. He spoke also with holy souls, the Church's name for those of its departed brothers on their way through the pains of purgatory to their eternal reward in heaven. When he heard news of one of his brother friars' death, he began to pray for him and was astonished to see him at the doorway.
These confreres said, oh, hello, Father, how are you? They told me you were dead. And the Father said, oh, yes, I am. Please pray for me. Just like that.
Padre Pio was praying here in the choir loft, and it was around midnight when he had the candlesticks on the main altar downstairs moving and falling. And he looked down and he saw a small novice, and this novice looked up and said to Padre Pio, I am doing here my purgatory, because when I was a novice I was appointed here to clean the altar of the Blessed Sacrament, but I didn't do my job well. Padre Pio thought he was seeing a vision, you know, he was an hallucination. And he went downstairs and he really found on the floor candlesticks and flowers.
He had a special devotion to the unique shrine in the remote hill town of Monte San Angelo. Where else would someone who fought so often with the devil send people who were troubled or possessed by evil spirits, but to the church here, a shrine dedicated to the Archangel